amputee. She's also a spiritual life coach whose mission is to help others discover freedom and great joy while doing so. She is passionate about sharing unity teachings and has been blessed with many opportunities to guest speak in the States and in Canada. And her ministry includes coaching people in recovery from addictions, and she thrives on helping people focus on developing spiritual practices. So, Reverend Kathleen, I'm going to leave it in your great hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Great. Okay. So welcome everybody. And I too want to say happy Mother's Day to everyone here. You know, there's a message that has started to go out into the world on Mother's Day for the last few years that I've paid attention to. And that is that it's just not about biological moms, right? It's about anyone who has been nurturing, has displayed motherly love to another individual. So I think about my mom, who's been gone since 2002, and I appreciate her and I thank her every Mother's Day. But I also thank those other women in my life, you know, my aunts, my grandmother, and then teachers and mentors who showed that nurturing that helped me to develop into the person that you see here today. So to all of you who have ever shown any kind of nurturing love to anyone else for any other reason, thank you. Thank you for being you, and thank you for doing that, and don't stop. Okay. So here we are, part 2 of this talk. I came to you back in April, and I was introducing a new book by Reverend Jim Rosemergy. It's called Gatherings of the Few, a guide to a global spiritual awakening. And we talked a little bit about this idea of being one of the few, that if we make this commitment to trying to demonstrate the peace that is within us, then we could be considered one of the few. And as more and more of these gatherings happen, all of a sudden, I think we're going to see a tilt. We'll see a shift taking place. I think we can all agree that sometimes when we wake up in the morning, if we go to our computers or we go to the newspapers or we see some headlines, they're not always full of peace. They're not always demonstrating what I think I want to see regarding that. And yet, I'm here today to continue this discussion about Jim's book, The Material, and to say to you, peace is already here. Now, that may not sit right with some of you, and I'm going to just invite you to just consider it. You don't have to buy into it, but just consider it for a little bit and see where you go by the end of the talk and the meditation, okay? The peace is already here. So we have this idea that there is only one power and one presence in the universe, right? And that is God. We may call it God or creator or source, universe, whatever. But that one power and that one presence has an infinite amount of divine traits, qualities. I don't know what you want to call it, but peace is one of those, right? When I think of God, I think that God is a symbol of peace, etc. Not a being in the sky, but it is an energy within me. And I think of peace. I can't recognize peace unless I have peace within me. I can't recognize love unless I have love within me. You ever hear that the idea that if you notice someone's not so nice traits, not so nice personality traits, right? You look at them and somebody says, oh, they're mirroring you, right? It's a reflection of you. And then you go, oh, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think that their bad behavior reflects something in me. Well, guess what? If it works that way, then it means it works that way for the positive stuff too. Okay, so that if you see someone loving, if you see an excellent unity minister speaking at a Sunday morning service, little inside joke there, but if you see that and you're saying, wow, that's really great, you can't recognize the greatness unless you have it in you already. That's my take on that idea, right? So, I'm always, I always love to come to this service because you're beginning the way the whole order of service flows. It just gets me thinking, and ideas are popping in my head all the time, and I don't know where to start or where to go first, right? But I was taken with this morning is unity principle number 5, right? It's about doing the best we can to live the truth that we know. It's not enough for me to know these ideas. It's not enough for me to be able to repeat all of the 12 powers and all of the apostles that were assigned to the 12 powers and all of the colors that go with the apostles, that go with the powers, right? It's not enough to just know that. What am I doing in my life to demonstrate it, to experiment with it? That's what principle 5 means to me. Right? It's not enough for me to know the truth. I have to live it as I understand it, because the more I live it, the more I learn about it, and I can go deeper and deeper. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. When I say that peace is already here, I believe that it's within each and every one of us. So it is simply a matter of us maybe getting together from time to time and doing a gathering as Jim describes in his book. That's something that would be up to you if you wanted to look into it further. He has some descriptions in there of what you can do in this gathering circle for a time, being together. He's got some exercises in there. But my point today is that it's about us doing something. It is not enough for us to sit here today and say, yes, peace is within me, and then stop, right? I've got to take it further. I do want to see peace demonstrated more in front of me. And the only way that's going to happen is if I have that individual spiritual awakening, and then I move forward into demonstrating it for others, getting together with other people who believe similar things. We don't all have to be exactly on the same page to make an impact. Jim's book is an invitation to anyone who's concerned about the future of humanity and the future of the planet. That's what he has said. And there are 4 lines that he suggests we use to wake up every single morning. And these are the 4 responses. The answer is always spiritual. I am part of a peaceful uprising. It only takes a few of us, and I am one of the few. Okay. The answer is always spiritual. Well, that's interesting, because sometimes I have a lot of earthly issues to deal with, right? Jim wrote another book a long time ago called Even Mystics Have Bills to Pay. And doesn't that say it all in a nutshell, right? The idea that, yeah, we're having this human experience. We got things to do here, right? It only takes a few of us, and I am one of the few. Am I going to be one of the few who step up and say, it's not enough to carry peace around with me? I want to demonstrate it. I want to bring my peace to maybe a confrontation, right? Maybe there's an issue at work. I want to be the calming presence that brings peace to that meeting, so that we can make informed decisions together, to make decisions that are for the highest and for the best. One of the things that Jim wrote on Facebook as he was starting to get this into place, the book came out as a result of a January 2023 class that he gave online. And someone said at the end of the 4 or 5 weeks, they said, Jim, you should put this into a book. And he took that to heart. And the book was out before January of 2024. It was just, he's very quick about these things. And so on one of his Facebook posts, one of the churches was going to actually do a gathering, so to speak, based on some of the material in his book. And this is what he wrote. He said, do not direct the peace that is released from within you. It knows the way. Do not direct the peace. Do not think of countries or nationalities. Peace does not recognize such things. Do not look for signs that peace is coming, but instead know that peace is here. Now, I certainly understand that when we look out into the world and we hear about the upset going on in the Middle East and Israel and Gaza and everywhere else, right? It's very difficult to not direct it there, right? I think what he's saying here is to take a step back and take a higher perspective on it all. That the moment I send my peace out into the world, it can't help but go everywhere. And why is that? Because we're all connected, because of that oneness that we talk about in unity. If I am one with everyone and everything, then every time I choose to send out peace, love, understanding, it's making its way through everyone. When I make a statement, I am peace, I'm not just talking about KK. I'm talking about each of us. We all are peace. And so it's a matter of, how am I going to demonstrate that? Am I really going to be one of the few? It's an interesting concept, and I know it's difficult to think about this. Again, peace is already here. I don't know. Do not direct the peace. It knows where it needs to go, kind of a thing. These are wild, outrageous things to think about. We're not going to decide it all here today. But what I'm hoping is that you'll take some of these bits and pieces from my talk and take it into meditation. Take it inside of you for 40 days and 40 nights and see where you end up after 40 days, right? That was Jim's suggestion to me when I wanted him to make when I felt that call to become a minister and I really didn't want to feel the call, and I said, Jim, make it go away. And he said, no, we can't do that, Kathleen, but we can, take it into prayer for 40 days and nights. And look I ended up a minister, right? The idea here is that if we're focused on our individual spiritual awakening, right? If we understand that we're responsible for our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and we suspend judgment, we can take a really close look at what's going on inside of us, and we can assume responsibility for what's happening in life. One of Jim's teachings also, which really hit home for me very early on when he and I were working together, is this: we must embrace our humanity in order to express our divinity. You may have heard that before. I don't remember if I shared it here with you or not, but we are having a human experience, right? So it doesn't do us much good to kind of shove that aside and pretend it's not happening, and no, I'm not angry, and no, I'm not jealous, and it doesn't work. Yes, we are spiritual beings. We have all of the spiritual power, and we're in the middle of a human experiment, right? And so if we're in the middle of this, if we can embrace the fact that, oh, look at that, I had another human reaction to something, Some of you know that I had surgery on April 29th, and I'm still waiting for results. I won't know until, I hope, Tuesday afternoon. I finally get some updates on what's going on. But I felt like I had to embrace the humanness of that situation, of the fear that crept up every so often. But I will be very honest with you, I had very little of it. I did not spend a lot of time in fear. And I think that's because I was willing to embrace the humanity part of it so I could express my divinity. I'm trusting in everything that is going on, that it is unfolding exactly as it should. I am well and whole in expression, wholeness and expression, right? But the only way I get through those things faster and easier, more gracefully, I guess is the way to put it, is if I'm actually embracing the humanity and not trying to shove it aside like it's a bad thing, right? In Jim's book, he talks about a process to be able to uh, spread this peace that is already here within us, spread it out into the world as a demonstration. And some of the suggestions he has goes in an order of what we can do each day, every day, as a regular daily spiritual practice to be able to spread this to others. So he starts with, at the beginning of each day, I remember the answer is always spiritual. I'm part of a peaceful uprising. Would you like to be a part of a peaceful uprising? You already are. I think it's happening right now. It only takes a few of us, and I am one of the few. I commit to that every morning. If I can do that, I've already begun the process, right? And then he talks about being like the river, flowing like the river, flowing with God's will. He says, I remember I am of the river. I am aligned with cosmic forces and spiritual principles to live a life of joy, to pray constantly, to give thanks in all circumstances. If you get the book, or if you already have it, you'll see that in the section regarding the river, he's talking about flowing along, flowing like the river, right? And that God's will is not about whether I get the right job or the right partner or the right house. That's got nothing to do with it. God is an energy inside of me, I believe, a divine energy that guides me, but I'm making all of the choices and I am responsible for all of the actions I take, all of the words that I speak. I'm responsible for the thoughts that I have after maybe that first one pops in my head that isn't as positive as I would like it to be, right? I am responsible for all of it. God is not doing things for me. I'm attracting, and I'm being, and God is being within me. And then Jim talks about the cave, being willing to go into the cave. The cave is that dark place where we might not want to go. I'll be honest with you, I never wanted to go into the cave. It's about looking at our not so nice character traits, right? Things that we might want to work on some level. But if we're willing to go into the cave and find those, what he refers to as dark stones, we might be able to look at them and do something about them if we have enough courage to go in and look at them. And so that section talks about, I remember I'm responsible for my thoughts, feelings, and actions. I remember to blame no one and no thing. I remember I gather my humanity to my heart. I accept it as it is. It is, God is, I am. Right? Any challenge that I face, I use those 6 words. It is, God is, I am. It has helped me more than anything else you can imagine. I'm reminded that there is a situation that I am facing. I am not hiding from it. I am not trying to shove it aside. I am not trying to pretend. It just is. But then I remember God is. I believe that there is a divine energy within me that can never go away, and I can't do anything to break that connection. And then I remember I am, which means I have all of those qualities that Jesus had. Right? If you read any of the stories in the Bibles and you look at Jesus' teachings, it was said that Jesus was quoted as saying, "These things and more can you do. Greater things can you do." Well, what if that's true? Right? I love to use that question, what if? Right? If you're sitting here today and you're going, yeah, I don't think peace is already here, that's fine. But what if it is? Take that question into meditation with you. Right? We're all at different places. We all have different filters that go on, and all of the information we've gotten over the years, we've come to certain conclusions. And the beauty of unity is that I can take whatever I believed yesterday and look at it again today and question it and see where I end up tomorrow. Right? And no one's grading us, and nobody's telling us we're right or wrong. It just is. Right? And that is how the I am is expressed for all to see. And then finally, Jim talks about the fire, going into the fire. There's a story in the Bible about 3 men who are thrown into the fire because they weren't worshiping the king like he wanted them to, and they came out of the fire unscathed, right? The miracle of that fire. It's a beautiful story. And he talks about it that I remember that the healer is an awareness of God, that I am not alone. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in spirit, spirit emerges. My heart opens and my mind is illumined. Peace is already here. How do I get to that point? How do I get to that understanding? Well, for me, I had to open my mind and I had to open my heart. Both have to be open for me in order to start to get willing to take a look at things and question them. I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine who has been in unity for quite a few years. And when I asked her to define her understanding of God, she had a real hard time. She really struggled with it. And what we ended up coming to understand is that she really does believe that there is a supreme being. And she was afraid to say it because she was afraid that was quote unquote wrong, that unity doesn't believe in a supreme being, right? So I was very happy to tell her that she could believe whatever she wanted to believe, and that was, if it worked for her, that was fine with everybody because it was fine for her, right? I give you this story so that you can understand that wherever you are, whatever you're doing with these crazy ideas I'm throwing out at you, wherever you are is fine. No one is wrong. No one is wrong. We're all growing through this together, right? What works for me in this moment, please do not hold me to this next week, but in this moment, what works for me is that I do honestly believe that peace is already here, that I am not waiting for a second coming or a third coming or whatever you want to call it of someone to arrive to rescue us, right? Peace is here. I have experienced divine peace within when it didn't make any sense, right? When things were so chaotic all around me, and yet I felt a calmness and a peace that, as it says in the Bible, surpasses all understanding, right? I've experienced that. And if I was able to experience that, then to me, it tells me peace must be here. If peace is here, then again, I believe that it is my job to send it to all. And if I believe in oneness, which I do today, if I believe in oneness, then I am choosing to send that peace throughout, throughout the world, throughout the galaxy, throughout everything, right? The possibilities are infinite when you think of it in these terms, right? It's no longer a story about me just being one person. What difference can I make? I can make a lot of difference. And if that means me just bringing peace to a cashier at a grocery store because the customer before me was grumpy, then so be it, right? Let me share my peace with that cashier. If it means that I share my peace with all of you here today, so be it. So the final question here is, are you willing to be one of the few? Are you willing to look at the idea of peace already being here? Are we ready to send that peace out to all who are connected to us? Yes, even those in political office. Yes, even those who we do not get along with, right? Are we willing to do that? Are we ready to make that commitment? I believe we're all here as part of a peaceful uprising, whether we consciously knew it or not. And I'm grateful to be here with you, to share these radical ideas with you, and to see where it ends up going. And so it is. Amen. And now I think we go into a meditation. Is that correct, C? Okay. So we're going to take some of these thoughts and ideas into the silence for just a couple of minutes. So I invite you to get comfortable wherever you are seated and just begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. Feel the muscles in your body relax. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you may do so, but it is not required. May the words that I speak now be the words of your own heart. Today, I remember the answer is always spiritual. And I am part of the peaceful uprising. I am one of the few. I'm committed to doing my best to live the truth that I know. Today, I remember I am responsible for my thoughts, feelings, and actions. I blame no one and no thing. I especially do not blame myself. I gather my humanity to my heart, and I accept it as it is. It is, God is, I am. Take these words into the silence. Today I remember I am peace. I am willing to be a demonstration. I am one of the few. And so it is. Amen. Before you open your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths. Feel the peace energy moving within you. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Welcome back, my friends.